Alrighty, we are here with Hannah Redmond, all the way from Hoboken, New Jersey. This shows that I didn't do my research enough because I knew you were in Jersey. I did not know that we're in the same town. So this is a very long distance remote interview. But
Yeah, same square mile.
yeah, exactly. Within a square mile interview. Yeah, we'll never have a farther, just interviewed people from around the world. So this is a great change of pace. But anyway, co-founder, chief strategy officer of Happy Box, one of the happiest boxing companies that you'll ever come across. Hannah, thank you so much for joining. Hope the weather's great in Hoboken. But how you doing today?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. And we're gonna get to all things Happy Box and probably all things Hoboken as well. And then after this, we'll just like meet up and go to ShopRite or Trader Joe's together and get coffee. So, but anyway, before we get into the thick of it, I want to go back to like the early days of Happy Box. And you know, Ariel wasn't able to join for this interview, so you're going to have to tell this only from your perspective, but I think it'll be pretty juicy still. Can you tell us about the time your sister got dumped on Valentine's Day?
Yes. So that was truly the inspiration for Happy Box. My sister and now co-founder Ariel got dumped right around Valentine's Day when we were in college. And I wanted to send her something. And I always prided myself as like a good gift giver. And I wanted to create something that was like a hug in a box, a care package. We were long distance. I was in Maryland going to my undergrad. She was in New York City going to school. And so I couldn't just like give her a hug and make her feel better. So I wanted to create this awesome care package for her. And I went online and I was like, of course, there's a way you can customize a care package online. You can customize a car online. But I didn't find anything. The closest thing I found were, some Etsy makers that had some cute care package ideas, but nothing was like a breakup kit. I wanted her favorite chocolate. I wanted a voodoo doll. I wanted snarky things that would make her laugh. I didn't want just like a typical like Harry and David or like star-shaped fruit from Edible Arrangements. I wanted something to really make her happy. And so I kind of I ended up doing it myself. I went to 7 stores, as the story goes, in College Park, Maryland, where I went to school, and found, fun, quirky things, put this package together, went to Michael's, got some boxes and crinkle paper, went to the post office and had a really crappy experience. I had the wrong label or something and got yelled at by the USPS. And I remember thinking, like, how is this possible? You can do so much online and you can't customize a care package online. So fast forward, obviously my sister loved it. And fast forward a few years, I was doing strategy work in ad agency side. And my job was really finding consumer insights. And I kept seeing these insights of customization and convenience. And like the brands that were doing really well, D2C, were these brands that were figuring out what's the intersection of customization and convenience. Consumers want to customize, but they don't want to do so much work. They want DIY without the DIY. So the idea always stuck with me of this idea of a custom care package builder. And so years later, Ariel and I decided to just kind of test it because it made such an impact on her. I mean, she was so thrilled with it. And the fact that we couldn't really find anything similar in the space. So that truly was the first Happy Box, the Breakup Box. And since then, we've just grown, obviously, into many more occasions and been much more relevant over the past few years. But that's really how it all started.
Well, that's we're past the statute of limitations or period of sadness here, so I think we can say it.
Yeah.
But that sounds like one of the best breakups of all time because whenever somebody gets broken up with, always friends and family, like of course everyone close always offers love and support and says like this might be a blessing in disguise. But in this case, it literally like birthed a business and like whole new career path for you guys and for everybody else there, and solving this problem, helping out for so many different businesses and customers out there. So that's unbelievable. But hold on, breaking up on Valentine's Day? Who, like, what?
I know it was a bad situation, but like we always say, from breakup to business, it really changed our lives. So
And from your perspective, because you're like the original curator of this, what makes like a care package that's just gonna like stick in somebody's heart in a warm and fuzzy way over the years?
yeah. So I think I'd say more general to gifting is I always say that the best gifts are things, one, that obviously speak to the recipient, that are specific for them, right? Something custom personalized. That's obviously, I feel like that's an obvious thing. But the thing I always look for, and even we still look for when we shop for Happy Box, like even our D2C e-com site, are things that are really cool that you would love to have, but you'd never buy for yourself. Those are the best gifts. The things that when you see them, you're like, that's cool, but I'm not going to spend money on that. Those are the best things to receive. And so if you think about like quirky stores or little gift shops, like you find those little items that are just a little bit special, a little bit different, but you wouldn't necessarily spend the money on it today. It's not like a must have. Those are the best gifts. So that's kind of the lens I always go through when we're like shopping for Happy Box or if I'm doing gifting myself.
All right. So clearly you're at the gifting extraordinaire. So as if this interview wasn't a gift enough. So thank you for that. I have a terrible sense of humor, but um, let's get to like once the wheels started like fully turning for Happy Box. So you mentioned that like you had the initial idea without even realizing it was a business idea, and then you're like, wait, maybe we have something here. So like, what was the inflection point? I just said a very disturbing term. What was the inflection point that like turned this into a real business that you'd ultimately make full time one day?
Yeah, I think I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And I was doing a lot of, I was going to a lot of events in Manhattan because it's right here, tech events, entrepreneurship events. So it's kind of always around this like energy of like starting your own thing. And I always kind of figured I would do that eventually. So when this idea kind of landed on us and we kind of kept talking about it, I think the first thing we did, and again, I think I had just finished my MBA and I had taken some entrepreneurship courses. Um, and I think I was very like, you know, by the book, MBA. Like I was trained to like, okay, do market research, do customer research. Like even in my full time job at the time, I was a strategist, so it was always about data behind everything. So honestly, the first thing we did was I remember being at like on a ski trip with friends, and I just was asking everyone like, hey, would you pay for this? Would you do this? How much would you pay for a custom care package if I did it all for you? Like if you didn't have to think about it and you just like knew the occasion, knew your friend, knew some stuff about them, but you just had someone do it all for you. And to me, I saw this more as like a potential service. It's not necessarily the products we're selling or that we were going to sell. And so kind of back to what I was saying about customization and convenience. So that was in the back of my mind. And then, so I know I had something there, but then really asking friends. I mean, I was and am, I'm a millennial woman. I was a millennial woman at the time. At the time I was in my young
Still are.
20s.
Yep.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
You
Doesn't
got
change.
millennial for life.
I know. But at the time I was like young 20s. I was doing some research on like, you know, what do women my age spend on gifts? And what was cool was getting your MBA, you have access to the library that your university has. So I was doing like a ton of research of like, gift giving behavior, top gifting moments, potential competition. I had a lot of resources at my fingertips, which was great. So I did a lot of honestly research first to see if this was truly an idea that would make it. And then truly, I messaged my friends. I emailed my friends and I said, would you pay for this? Would you buy this? And I did a formal survey, of my friends. And I don't know, probably got like 25, 30 people in my network to respond. And it seemed like this was a good idea. And, who knows at the time, maybe my friends were just being nice to me, but, and saying, yeah, I'd pay for that. But you have to start somewhere. So that's how we started. And then we decided to test the waters on Etsy, just to see like, okay, would people actually pay for this without, it being our actual direct friends and family. So we did put up some like curated boxes on Etsy. At the time, you couldn't really make a build your own. There was no like way to do that on Etsy. I guess you could with a million drop downs, but at the time there wasn't an easy way. So we're like, okay, let's just see if like interesting care package would sell. So like breakup kit or and we're doing one this year, an election survival kit, like things that are a little bit more fun, topical, not your typical Harry and David, not your typical, like what we used to say is like, not your mama's care package, not your mama's gift basket. Something a little different, a little snarky. So we had a lot of like curse words in our stuff. We had a lot of just like play on words, fun, snarky, quirky stuff. Like a little kitschy and a little different because we felt that was really what was missing in the space. There's a lot of traditional, like we'll say vanilla gifting out there, but there's not really, there wasn't really fun gifts out there. So those were the first two steps really. It was like actual surveying people in our network, our friends, our family, doing some research about gifting overall in the gifting space, and then taking a stab on Etsy and seeing if people would buy it. And once they did, that's when we were like, okay, something's here, because we had no media. Obviously, we had no money. So we weren't advertising. We just had this organically on Etsy. And once we saw that grow, that's when we started our own website. And that's where we started exploring, how do we build this box builder? How do you build the customization, which took a lot of work, obviously, and effort and money. So we didn't get there right away, but we tested out the fun curated care packages first to see if anyone would buy them.
Yeah, well, that's a brilliant way to do it. And you can see kind of like how instantly you were applying like your MPA classes, about like validating the idea, and then kind of really like for you, Etsy was kind of like the prototype of like getting
Yeah,
started. Um,
totally.
by the way, Etsy, like there's so many amazing creators and small businesses on there. Like, um, I hadn't thought about it from this regard. Like, a lot of people become Etsy sellers at some point, but you're like a great case study of like, yeah, you can stay on Etsy if you want, or you could turn it into your own thing at some point. But either way, it's like a good thing to start kind of testing and start selling stuff there.
Yeah,
So it's
definitely.
really nice how you kind of like gradually uh, ramped up there.
Yeah, it's nice that you don't have to like build everything.
Right.
Going on Etsy, you had this organic search capability. Even if you didn't do advertising back then, it was better than it is now. Now you have to like advertise a little bit more, but we had this organic search capability, and we didn't have to build a website. I mean, that was huge for us. We didn't know what we were doing. I mean, like we had no capability. We didn't have a developer. We didn't have that background. Like my like HTML background would be from MySpace. So
Yeah.
um,
I just hope you're in the top 8,
yeah.
but I hope I'm in the top 8 rather. But uh, so let's get to building something. So when you do have your own site and you do have your own platform, it's really nice when you can get it to the point you are now where like everything's streamlined, but it takes a ton of work to get there. So like as you were starting to like find developers and like work on the tech side of that, and really work on your MySpace HTML, what were kind of the principles that like you and your sister and team set forth of like, here's the vision for what we want Happy Box to look like, and how we want it to work?
Yeah, I think we knew we wanted this customization. We knew we needed to make something that was special in the space because that didn't exist. Like even to this day, on some of the biggest gift sites, you can't really customize the way you can on our site. And looking back, it's funny. We always joke, we're like, "Oh, we get why people didn't do it because it was hard as hell to do." And even the fulfillment side is super difficult to figure out. But at the scale we were at before we were advertising and when we were just on Etsy and when we decided to build our own site, it was really about how are we going to make this consumer experience easy? Because the whole point was do it for them, make it easy. We're doing a service for them. We'll figure out the rest. So how do we make it as easy as possible for them? So that was like number one priority is like make this a few steps, make it super easy, give them lots of options. The second thing, honestly, that I think about when you ask that question, which I honestly haven't thought about in a long time, is I read like the Lean Startup, and I was like really watching and listening to people in the space, in the entrepreneurship space, talking about like agile development and how you really should develop an MVP and just create something and then iterate, create something and then iterate and then improve, improve, improve. And we really leaned into that. I remember after I finished that book, would listen to a ton of podcasts of people who are using like lean methodology. I took like a Coursera course on like agile development, which was like so out of my wheelhouse. But what I learned was just like start. And I think for me, I'll tell you my biggest challenge as an entrepreneur and as honestly a person, a professional, is I am a planner. Like I want to plan, I want to have the roadmap, I want to have the business plan. And my sister and co-founder is like the opposite. She's like a creative art school. Like she went to like proper art school, like Parsons School of Design, like super, like credible, very hard to get into art school. And for her, it's like she's like never seen a spreadsheet, when we started the business. So it's like, so for her, it's like just create, let's create it. And so the kind of benefit we had is this balance of I'm the planner, she's the like doer. Together, it's the perfect combination. It's a tension for sure, because we argue about it. Still to this day, we argue about it when we're creating things, or developing something. But it's such a healthy tension when you're starting a business because you need that combination. And we're just lucky, honestly, that one, our professional backgrounds were so compatible, but then also just that kind of, I don't know, personality trait or the way we are. Like, I will always and forever be a planner. I have to-do lists on to-do lists, and she just does things and it works. But I think those were the two things. It was like, how do we make this easy as easy as possible for the customer? And how do we do something that we can start it, create it, and then iterate? We don't have to have the final product right now because we knew where we wanted to go was customized gift boxes at the time. That was like the first big goal. But that was, again, very hard and expensive and took development to get there. So I think I say a third thing is thinking about kind of like what I said before about Etsy. Find things that exist and make them better instead of necessarily creating something from scratch. I actually just talked to someone who owns a web dev company, and he said that he won't make something in development, like even like a website feature for his clients, unless 80% of his clients need it, because you have to prove that you need it. It's a lot of effort and time to create something net new. Like I'm talking like really net new, like innovative. He doesn't do it unless 80% of his clients need it. And I thought that was a really interesting, like just number he had like to think about. Cause we always are, figure out, we're on Shopify. So we always are trying to figure out what do we build versus what do we use an app for and customize. That's just a big, internal struggle we always have. But where we kind of land always is let's use something that exists and just make it a little better, optimize it with some customization.
I'm wondering, like your friend you reference with the 80% rule. I'm wondering what happens at 79, like if that's a hard cut
I know.
or not. But so that's a little teaser because I do want to get into kind of the dynamic between you and your sister in a bit. It sounds like you use like Excel spreadsheets all the time, and she's more likely to like paint a spreadsheet, paint it together or something. But it's beautiful starting to see it come together of like what the actual what your website looks like and how the platform makes it easy for people. You mentioned that the ultimate goal was like create your own gift box. What was the big the big win or a big decision you made that like made that possible from like the tech
Mm.
side and platform side?
I went to, so at the time we side hustled Happy Box for 5 years. And I say 5 years, I would say that first whole year was just like on back of a napkin brainstorming, right? But like we
Yeah. There's a
LLC'd,
lot of
we made,
napkins for a year.
I know, right? A lot of late nights, a lot of late napkins. But that first year was just honestly brainstorming, creative, thinking of what this would be, and like kind of just dreaming, honestly. So it's really, I'd say 4 solid years of side hustling, like actual work, like trying to get this done, and trying to figure out if this was a real business, and not just a hobby, honestly. And I think the moment for us, I remember I was going to a work conference at, it was hosted by, it was an entrepreneurship actually school. It was Babson, hosted by Babson and Harvard. It was really cool. I got this
Huh.
opportunity because of my full-time job to go to this like 1 week of like intensive, kind of business training, kind of like a mini MBA sort of thing that they were sending some just like key people to. And I was lucky I got to go. And when I was there, I sat at this table with some guy who was working on a brand in e-commerce. I was working on a lot of very traditional brands off, like not D2C brands. I worked on, for example, Snickers and ExxonMobil. So these did not have e-commerce presences. So I actually had no e-commerce experience. And I was sitting at this table next to this guy, and we were just chatting, and I was telling him about this side hustle I have. And he was in ecom, and he's like, you have to be on Shopify. And at the time, I think we had graduated from Etsy to Wix, and I was doing Wix myself. It was WYSIWYG. I could drag and drop things. I don't need
Mhm.
coding. I don't need developer. Because we're 100% against scrappy self-funded company, and to this day we're still self-funded. But we were chatting, and he's like, you must be on Shopify. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll look into it. And he looked at me, and he's like, no, 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 like you must move from Wix to Shopify. And I was like, okay. And so I was like, I'll look at this Shopify you're talking about. I had no idea what it was. I'd heard about it, but I didn't really know. And so I went back after this conference in Boston, I think, and I was just like, hey, Ariel, like this guy is like really saying we have to check out Shopify. So like do some research. So I did some research, and I was like, oh, okay, this is like where I have to be if we're going to do ecom. So that moment, I think when we moved from like Wix to Shopify, Wix was more like a, almost like a live journal, like journal. It felt very like, I don't know, old school journally type website. It did not really feel like an e-commerce proper, even though they were really trying to get there. And I think now they're probably there, but the move to Shopify really changed everything for us, because Shopify was best in class, had tons of apps, had some support that we could use, and then I'd say that was like the stepping stone. And then we graduated to Shopify Plus, which gives you way more features, way more support, like white glove service, just like tons of automations and stuff like that. So I think Shopify, obviously the base for many D2C brands and ecom brands, is just huge and was a game changer for us for sure.
So this is going to burst your bubble, but next week we have on the Wix co-founder. It's no,
Really?
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Oh
No,
my
no,
God.
I
Well,
just want to see your reaction.
that's so
No,
funny.
no, I know Shopify is so huge. Couldn't resist, but like, uh, that's such like a breath of fresh air when you find that technology or like that right fit of
Yeah.
like, wait, we can finally do what we want to do with our platform.
Yeah,
So
totally.
nice that you had that aha moment. By the way, Babson, quick aside, my first job out of college, I worked in brand management in Connecticut, and the two schools that the company at the time, Sun Products, the two schools they recruited from were IU, where I went, and Babson. And I like
Mm,
wasn't familiar with Babson. Like growing up in the Midwest, like I just went, like I know it's more of an East Coast school, and I didn't realize like how incredible of an entrepreneurship program they have.
mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
and like I have a ton of friends and like former coworkers that went there as well, and they were like it's awesome. Like it
Yeah.
was tough, but it's the amount of like big time founders that have come out of there is unbelievable.
Yeah. And the networking I'm sure you get out of there. It's amazing.
Yeah, exactly. So if you look at your site today, it's really impressive, like the amount of different types of offerings you have. And business, I know there's like very easy to get into the corporate speak or agency speak, whether you call it silos or uh, departments, types of business. And for anybody watching on video, I have an incredible sun ray coming down on top of me as in my soliloquy here. But you have like the create your own gift box option. You have your like corporate gifting side of things. You have like the kind of the prepackaged ones. You have another option, gift by choice, I want to
Yeah.
say it
Gift of
is
choice.
gift of
Yep.
choice. Yeah, whereas I by the way, for video, this is incredible, son. We need some video editing, get to work here. But like, yeah, where you set a the gift of choice, where you like set a budget and then customers can choose whatever they want. So basically,
Mhm.
what was like what went into picking or like finalizing what your different lines of gift boxes are, as I burn up
Yeah.
from the sun here?
You look angelic.
I need to like hold. Oh, there we go. Perfect.
um, yeah. So honestly, kind of going back to that like lean methodology, I still feel like we're pretty, we stick pretty true to that. Is that we try something, we launch, even if it's probably sooner than we should. We test and we see if it has any results, and then we'll kind of iterate from there. All of our offerings, like of course the initial, like I said, the first initial big goal was how do we get to customized care packages. At the time, there was one company out there doing it, and they were, I mean, beautiful boxes, beautiful products. They were doing, I think, kind of an elevated version of what we started doing. Like I said, we were starting quirky, fun, like, voodoo dolls, like just different, a little bit different. And so we were trying to fill that like kitschy, quirky space. They were doing much more like what I would give my mother-in-law, or like bridesmaids, something a little bit more, again, I say elevated, but like a little vanilla, like very, again, beautiful, has its purpose, but that's not where we were trying to be initially. So that was the only company that had like a quote box builder at the time. Fast forward post COVID, tons of competitors came into the space, but and we could talk about that. But what we started realizing was this is great, but we started getting requests. So like, people would be like, "Hey, this is great. These curated boxes are great, and the box builder is great. But hey, can I add my logo to the box? Like, what could you guys do that? Yes, I bought for my bridesmaids. I bought Happy Boxes for my bridesmaids, but I'm also like the head of HR at this startup, and we want to welcome new employees with something, and that kept coming up. So we're like, oh, okay. So this like corporate stuff kept like sprinkling into us. We would get these email requests, and we were like, yeah, sure. I mean, our backgrounds were ad agency, basically. I was brand side and ad agency side. Ariel was agency side for many years. So for us, interpreting brand guidelines or putting a logo on something was like a no brainer. Like we could do that. So we started doing that. And then from the corporate line of business, we started getting other questions like, hey, I love this, but can I make it so my recipients and my team can choose from two boxes, or can they choose from the gifts that we put in the box? Or, and then we start getting asked for swag. So everything you see on our site were just like, honestly, repeated customer requests that we tested, realized there was some obviously business opportunity there, but two, we were really just making the service better for our customers. And I think where we've really landed where we want to be, of course, it's custom gifting overall, if you look at our site, but where we really want to be is the one-stop shop for your gifting needs. So whether it's a personal moment or a corporate moment, or an event, or you just need swag, we're your one-stop shop. Like we're your solution. We have the self-serve capabilities, which we do, where you can buy one box today for someone or give the gift of choice to one. You can also self-serve to thousands. People buy, especially around the holidays, you'd be surprised. Like, we look at the sales of like, and the email addresses, it's like at IBM.com bought 72 boxes for their team, right? Like, so, and they're buying it right on the site. Then we also have this more, I'd say like concierge part of the business, the corporate, like agency model where we service clients with very big budgets and we do their like year-round gifting, or we'll do like their rewards and recognition programs or milestone gifting. So every time an employee hits a 1 year, 3 year, 5 year mark, it's all automated for them. They never have to think about it. We warehouse and ship on demand. And they have a custom portal. So all of these offerings have come truly from customer feedback and repeat requests. And sometimes, I mean, Ariel's really good at this and identifying it. Like we'll get a request from a client and she'll be like, yeah, sure, we can do it. And like, we have no capability, and she'll go build it with our developer. And like, it'll take a week and it's done. And then maybe it's not the greatest. And we'll tell the client like, oh yeah, like it may be a little glitchy because we're just testing some things, but it's there, you know, and it'll work and we'll just make it better. And then we'll sell it to other clients. So true like startup-y form.
And just an update, I've become one with the sun. So, shout out the Ra, the god of sun, I think is what it, yeah, who knows. um, it's so cool how it's like intrinsic in your business and like you and your sister's approach to business that like pay very close attention to what customers want and see how we can provide it. And the example with your sister there, it's like, well, technically we can't provide it, but like, yeah, somehow we still will.
Yeah,
So that
she'll
energy
find a
there.
way.
Yeah.
Ariel's very Ariel doesn't say no, you know, like
So,
she
so
doesn't ever say no.
it's so it's a big growth driver there. It always helps to have like the energizer bunny on the team keep going along. But
Totally.
I think in terms of like the logistics of how the business actually works, like it's pretty mind blowing. You're able to do what you do. I mean, on your site, like the latest number that you've shown is that you provided over 700,000 gifts, which I can't even count that high. And I think it's like that's a ton of logistics behind the scenes on the back end to make that all work. Like I'm not going to ask you to provide any, trade secrets or copy, anything you trademarked or anything like that, but like high level, how are you and team able to do what you do?
Yeah, I think something we like joke about is there was a moment where I remember we were asked a few times, not often, but we were asked a few times, like, we have some really cool stuff on our box builder, for example. And the way you can shop our box builder generally is you have to select multiple gifts. You select a box, you select a card, you go to checkout. So you build this box. And we got asked a few times, oh, I really like that scrunchie. Like, how do I buy just that one scrunchie? And we were like, oh, like, we don't really have a way to just to buy one product. That's not what we built this for. And what we realized in that moment when we were trying to make it also work that you can just buy one product is we're like, oh my God, we've developed this like very like extensive, like difficult system. We've made this system where it's bundling products, and we've had to do a lot of custom development to do that, that we've almost done the like hardest part of e-commerce and the simplest part, which is like, oh, I like that product, click buy. Like we never even did. So I think we almost, because we did this hard, very detailed custom form of ecom, like this bundling of products together and making Shopify recognize that's one actual product, and also making it so you can buy 72 boxes and ship them to 72 locations in one checkout. That was difficult to do. We've done all this like crazy detailed custom work in the ecom space that the one-to-one became very easy. And we were like, oh wow, like we did this like really hard stuff first. And back to kind of my comment earlier is like, we realized why people hadn't done this before, because it was extremely hard to do. It's still extremely hard to do. And I think one of the things we had to figure out, which I feel one of the proudest things, I think one of the things I'm the most proud of at Happy Box is that we've created our own fulfillment center. Which sounds crazy, I think, to people who are trying to start something, because you're like, how do you even get there? I mean, if I asked myself 10 years ago, would I have a warehouse and a fulfillment center? I would have been like, no way. I don't know how to do that. But controlling our own fulfillment and building the solutions that work for our business was so important to be successful in exactly what you're talking about. Being able to do all of these different like lines of our business and be able to offer all of these different capabilities to our customers and clients. It really comes down to having our own fulfillment and warehouse, because when we started, we obviously did it ourselves, right? Like I did this in my apartment. I packed boxes in my apartment. We
You
graduated
packed
to
700,000 boxes in your apartment.
yeah, not that. Probably thousands, definitely like that. The amount of boxes I've made and paper cuts I've gotten.
Oh.
But um, Yeah, cardboard paper cuts are like no joke too. Um, so we obviously did it ourselves at first. We graduated a little bit. We actually, my parents had an apartment down the street from us that was bigger, and we used their apartment, a spare room in their apartment for a while, and then we got our first warehouse, which was very tiny and like gross, but that was our first space. But having that really gave us the capabilities like that I'm saying, like to really customize everything. Because when you go to a 3PL, like a third party logistics partner, what we found is they're not built to customize. They're not built for flexibility. They're built for volume. They get paid on volume. They want to pump out as many orders as possible in the quickest way possible, and you pay for it. And it's oftentimes some sort of base number plus number of items. And for us, it's like everything is variable. Like every custom box is truly custom. I mean, when you think about 700,000 gifts, that like almost all of those are completely custom. That's insane. Like if you think about it and it's funny, our one of our biggest questions we get when we talk to like people who are interested in investing in us or people who are interested in partnering with us, they're like, how do you scale that? And it's funny because again, back to, we kind of figured out the like hardest parts. Not to say there wouldn't be challenges in scaling, but we've kind of figured out a really good system that works for us, that we're able to scale up and scale down very easily. And I say that with an asterisk, like nothing's easy, but we figured it out enough that we're able to offer these capabilities. But I think it all comes down to the operations. And again, something I wasn't necessarily trained or equipped to do, but I don't know, when your back's against the wall, you figure it out.
Yeah, it's great words to live by there. Yeah, that's fascinating on the own fulfillment. Like, it sounds like a ton of work getting it up and started, and it's always a ton of work. But like when you realize you have like total control of your logistics, and or at least as much as you can control,
Yeah.
that's a huge advantage as a company.
Yeah,
If
like
you,
one like fun anecdote I think is we were talking to a company, pretty big company, and um they are D2C. So they use their own fulfillment center. I think they have their own fulfillment center, or they're using a 3PL that they feel comfortable with, right? But they came to us and they were like, I want you guys to do our influencer gifts because I can't have something broken go to Jennifer Aniston. And really, it
that's
was
what I
funny.
always say. Like words to live by.
Because they were doing a big influencer and media push and they were nervous about their own fulfillment center. And I was like, that shows you there's problems in this space if you can't trust your fulfillment center or your 3PL to put something out there. Like we can do the most cut. So, I mean, again, we are brand people, we are marketers by background. So for us, everything that leaves our warehouse, like there is a creative element that we make sure is, you know, like or creative standard that we adhere to and stand by, and our team knows that and they're trained by that because it's not volume for us. It's everything is custom and made to order, and that's the service we sell. It's, you can trust that when this is going to an influencer or media, that it's going to be beautiful. The handwritten note will be beautiful. It's not, you don't have to worry about, we're not making money on the volume in necessarily. We're providing a service. It's different than like the 3PL game. So but that was just interesting because I'm like, you have your own fulfillment center, but they literally went with us for influencer gifts because they just didn't trust their own fulfillment.
Well, speaking of trust, let's pivot a little bit. You foreshadowed this brilliantly earlier. The dynamic between you and your sister, and I think with so many like co-founders that I talk to, they have like, I guess, somewhat of a similar dynamic, and like somebody's kind of more the planner, somebody's more the creative side, and like when you have those two elements in founders, like it's a really really strong foundation. Literally found, I'm gonna see how many words I can have with found in it. You guys found each other. No, but um to build a business off of, and so it complements really well, yin yang, use all the idioms you want. But on the flip side of that, your sisters fight. I grew up with the brothers fight. Every sibling fights from time to time. How do you kind of handle that these days if you're ever just like, I'm not happy with Ariel today, or vice
Yeah.
versa?
Yeah, it's definitely a different dynamic, I think, than most founders. So it's interesting. And by the way, that's probably our most common question is how do you work together? Like, what's that
Well,
like?
I assume you guys were just in like a huge fight, and that's why she's like, you know what, you
Ariel
take
didn't
this
go.
interview. I'm not joining. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, it's definitely one, I think we're just lucky. Like luck plate comes into a lot of this, I think, is that again, our backgrounds are so complementary. So like back in the day before we were happy boxers, right? Like we both worked agency side, and even when I was brand side, we would have worked together. We never did, but we would have, right? Like I was a strategist, so my job would have been taking the business objectives, looking at consumer insights, writing a creative brief, and then she would have executed the brief and come up with creative ideas, commercials, videos, whatever the concepts that would come out of it. So we're weirdly like lucky that our professional backgrounds were so complementary. That just makes it easier because we speak the same language. We both worked in ad agencies in Manhattan. We both worked on Super Bowl spots. We both worked on commercials. We both have the same background. So that's just like luck, honestly, because most, I don't know if most sisters, or siblings aren't necessarily the same career or even, realm of career. So that was luck for sure. And I think the sister dynamic definitely comes into play. We absolutely fight. We absolutely argue. The hardest part, I'd say, is keeping that to ourselves and not showing the team the sister side, which they definitely see it. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, there's definitely moments where they're like, oh, it's like a sister moment, disagreeing. But I think overall, it's a superpower. And here's why. There's like two main reasons. One, because when we're together for family things, which we both live in Hoboken, we both have kids the same age. So we're together on the weekends because our kids are playing and they're cousins. And we're on family vacations together. If we visit our parents who live in Florida, we're both there. So
Wait,
every like,
real quick, where in Florida? Because I'm sure it's the same place that either my wife's parents or my parents are.
they're in Hollywood Beach. Do you know Hollywood?
Okay,
By Fort
well,
Lauderdale.
not too far. My
Okay.
mother-in-law and father-in-law are in Delray Beach, so East
Okay.
Coast. Well, my parents are
Yeah.
West Coast, so.
Okay. Yeah, so any like we're like, think about it, right? We're in the Uber on the way to the airport, or we're in the airport waiting. We're talking about business. So it's a superpower in that every quote off moment or like vacation moment is like business for us. And it's not because we're workaholic. I mean, we are, because I think every entrepreneur has to be, honestly. But we're just passionate. We're like, hey, I saw this ad. This is a great idea. Or hey, this client mentioned this. I think we should talk about it. Like, it's very much like we're at the park and our kids are on the swings and we're like talking about closing a deal. So we're very lucky in that we get this like incremental halo effect of like all of our free time is also kind of business time. And I don't know, you could argue that's healthy or not healthy, but for us, it's fun. So for us, it's not unhealthy. Maybe our husbands think differently, but we really are passionate about what we do, passionate about growing the business. We have really, aggressive goals. So for us, like having that bonus time is just like amazing. So that would only come if you have a relationship like a sister relationship or a family relationship. The second thing that's, I think, makes this a superpower versus a negative is you kind of like cut the crap. Like, there's no passive aggressive corporate politics. There's no mediator. We are gonna fight. We get it. But guess what? Like, she heard my opinion way sooner than if I had to like tiptoe around and be like polite and like, HR friendly talking to her. So like, I think we get to decisions faster. And we get out our like feelings faster about things because, Ariel will be like, that's a stupid idea. I'll be like, it's not stupid. And then we'll just like argue about it for 5 minutes, but then we're like, we get there, And I
Yeah.
think we also, early on, I mean, this was really early on. I think we had to figure it out is because in the beginning it was hard. Like, we would fight and disagree and be like, like, and angry at each other. And I think we learned, I mean, this is pre even quitting and going full time, like part time. We even noticed this, and Ariel, to her credit, she really came up with this idea. She's like, I'm going to call it. We're not agreeing. We're arguing. We're done for the night. It's 7:30. Let's stop, and let's talk tomorrow. And she was really good at that. Like, just being like, okay, we're not getting any more. Stop. Like, let's call it. We're done. I'll see you at mom's for dinner, and we just like kind of like, we realized we're sisters. We have to not live together. We have to live in our lives together. We have to work together. So we have to make it work. So I actually think it's way more of a positive than a negative. I mean, you talk to people and they're like, I could never work with my sibling. But you make it work because they're in your life. Like, what are you going to do? Not talk to them ever again? That's not going to happen.
Right.
So you have to figure it out.
You two have mastered the ripping off the Band-Aid and just like getting to it.
Yeah.
So Band-Aids, paper cuts are a huge theme here.
Yeah.
On the more even more happy note, so happiness is in your company name. It fits the vibes of the company. Like, how would you characterize like how you communicate to your team, your customers, your clients, like what like the happy means in Happy Box for you guys?
Yeah. I mean, for us, we always say we want to do business happy, and that means across the board. So it's with each other, it's with our team, it's with our partners, it's with our UPS driver. We have a lot of relationships. Our whole business is helping relationships. It's providing a service that helps you foster a connection with someone else. So we take that seriously. Like, I mean, there have been moments, I think one of the coolest part of our business is on the consumer side and on the corporate side, but largely on the consumer side, you see these notes people write to each other, and it like restores your faith in humanity. Like people are so nice, and like you, like if you're having a bad day in our warehouse, you just like read some cards and like just see what people are saying to each other. It's just like it like lifts you up. So we know we're making someone's day, and we're you know we're putting like a smile on their face, truly. Like that's like what we do. um and we're giving someone who maybe didn't have the opportunity to do this themselves, don't have the time to do something like this themselves, we're giving them like a creative voice in their gift giving, which is really unique. I mean, again, unless you were going to go and find all these items, stand in line at USPS like I did back in the day. I mean, you can't really do this very easily. And it's quite, more expensive because the stuff we're buying is at such scale. So like, we know we're offering a great service to allow people to foster connection. So we, again, take that seriously, and we try to like do everything in a positive way. I think we also, so we're women and minority owned certified, and we, as part of our kind of mission, we try to source from largely diverse owned businesses and local businesses. Now some clients ask for very big brands. We do those too, right? Like we source what our clients need or ask for. But largely, especially on our website, is stuff we've either created ourselves in our own diverse businesses, or we've partnered with other diverse owned businesses, which has been such a huge, I mean, just like a feel good part for us, but also we're just so happy to shine a spotlight on some of those businesses too. I mean, we've gotten people say, "Oh, hey, where's that candle from?" Or like, "What's the brand?" And then like we'll get an email from the brand being like, "I just got this big order from this person, and they wanted to buy 17 candles for all their friends." Like, it's so cool seeing the like ripple effect of just showing off some of these businesses who honestly may not have any kind of um, platform. I mean, we saw this especially during COVID. I mean, we had coffee shops that we were sourcing from locally who said, without your orders, like we wouldn't pay rent because their shop was shut down. But they didn't have an e-commerce presence. A coffee shop doesn't have that typically. But they were selling to us, and we were selling e-com. So we were giving them not only exposure, but we were giving them some sales and revenue that they really desperately needed at the time. So we really feel, Ariel and I think we've worked on very big brands previously, and I think in our previous careers. And I think we noticed that like these big brands have a lot of sway, and they have a lot of big brands have a lot of power in lifting up smaller businesses. And so we are just trying to do like a little bit of that. Like if we can lift up a few small businesses along the way, we feel like we've done something good, so.
I'm all in on happy, and you made my heart happy just saying those things. So, congrats and thanks for all you do. I want to wrap up with some happy rapid fire questions.
Sure.
You ready for it?
Yeah.
All right, let's get wild. You mentioned big brands that you worked on. Snickers, that's a fun one. What's like a fun fact or just like something cool behind the scenes about Snickers you learned from that experience?
Yeah. So Snickers, the actual candy bar, was named after the family horse, the Mars
Really?
family. Mars is still a family owned
It's
company,
just
which
funny
is
because I feel like
wild.
I've met like I've met like yeah handshake.
Mhm.
There like I've heard of like dogs being named Snickers and like pets being named Snickers. It's funny it was like a horse name originally and now it's a pet name. That's
Mhm.
funny.
Yeah. Yeah. And
All
also, it
right.
was actually the first, like, if you think about granola bars, Snickers, if you remember, like the Patrick Ewing commercials back in the 90s,
Sorry,
at the
you
time,
mean Patrick Chewing.
yeah. There was no like granola, like back then, 80s, 90s, there was no real granola bar. The most filling, protein filled bar you could get was a Snickers versus like, think about like just a standard chocolate bar, like a Hershey bar. So it was marketed very much as like a nutritious granola type bar. And now the space is so crowded, and Mars owns like Kind Snacks. So there's like it's changed a lot. But I always found that really interesting. It was like this perceived like, sports snack at the time. So it's interesting.
Well, thank you for that. I have to shout out um, in honor of my grandpa Henry, who he died back in 2020, but he actually like right before COVID was starting, which we knew he would have hated that time period. So it actually,
Oh.
it was just crazy. But anyway, huge impact on all of our lives, and like the two like indulgences that he just loved to death were Snickers bars and Absolute vodka. And so for I think it was my mom's idea. It was awesome. Either his 75th or 80th birthday. Oh no, let me scratch that. 90th birthday, I think it was.
Wow.
We got, it doesn't matter the milestone. It's one of those 5-year birthdays. We got him like a a bottle of Absolute vodka and a bunch of like the fun size Snickers bars, and taped them over the entire bottle. And so we
Oh
presented
my
him
god.
like a Snickers vodka bottle,
Wow.
and I'm sure he consumed all of
Yeah.
it.
I mean, who doesn't love
Yeah,
Snickers?
yeah,
So good.
exactly. So appreciate the nostalgia there. I hadn't thought about that in a while. All right, couple Hoboken questions for you. Can't resist. If if you if like a friend or family member is visiting Hoboken for the first time, what restaurant are you taking them to?
That's a good question. Um, I feel like if they're from out of New Jersey, probably something Italian.
I
Maybe
didn't know there were
Autostrada.
Italian restaurants in Hoboken. Okay.
I'd probably show them the local delis with like Frank Sinatra's mugshot in them, and then
Yeah.
maybe get some mozzarella at Fiore's. But I think
Yeah.
Autostrada, like pizza, pasta.
Oh yeah. The 1 pound meatball or whatever
Yeah.
that. What is your favorite like event or time of the year in Hoboken?
Um, I like want to say summer because the parking is better, but
That's you
um,
really are a planner. It's all logistics.
yeah. Um, I mean, I love the fall. I love this time. Like it feels like I don't know if you feel this walking around Hoboken, but like with the light in the fall, like right at dusk, it feels like a movie set. Like the brownstones and the trees. It just looks
Yeah,
so
well, it
pretty.
literally is. They're like, I mean, what's the latest one? Chalamet with the Bob Dylan movie.
Yeah, that's true.
Um,
There's like a ton of movies
there's a
shot
ton of
here.
movies shot here. Yeah,
Yeah. But it's
yeah,
just so
no,
pretty and nice and I don't know, there's like no bad time. I mean, the winter is hard here. but
yeah.
in
But
apartment living.
it's also I've noticed like, especially like the brownstones, like all those streets, those beautiful streets, like Hoboken goes hard for Halloween decorations. Like
Yeah.
really,
Oh
like
yeah.
they do not mess around. Like you walk around any of those streets, and it is unbelievable
Yeah.
the
They
Halloween
close
spirit
down the
here.
streets. It's
Yeah, yeah,
unbelievable. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun with a toddler, let me tell you. I like you like relive it. You like relive trick or treating. It's so fun.
Oh my god. All right, and then what is a your best remedy for a paper cut? Actually, a cardboard paper cut.
Oh man. Well, we have a first aid kit in the warehouse. I mean, definitely like clean it out, and just soap and water is fine. I've learned.
You didn't know I'd be
And
asking you for medical advice here. This
I
is
know.
not doctor certified, but
I know.
MBA certified.
I know. The things I've learned running a warehouse. No, we have a great team that actually runs the warehouse. I just like
Yeah.
am there sometimes. But wash it out, soap and water, and then maybe some like Neosporin once it dries, or some sort of cream, and then a Band-Aid. That's it.
Awesome. And then bite into a Snickers. All right. And
Yeah.
then last one. So I often ask guests about what I call weird talents or party tricks, like just like things that really don't impact your business, but like you're really good at it. And so in this case, I want to ask, what's like a weird talent or party trick that you are much better than your sister at?
Much better than my sister. I don't know. I feel like she's much better at those things than me. Um,
Well, it doesn't have to be like a creative like performance thing. It could be anything. Like example that like a memory trick, or an example that passes, like just have a knack for hanging pictures straight, like stuff like that.
could I reverse it?
Of
There's
course.
something that I'm really bad at that is so weird to me because I actually really like doing it.
Yeah.
Um, I think one of the things I'm the worst at, and I don't know if this is some like dormant dyslexia, but I'm really bad at word searches. Like really bad,
Oh,
like truly horrible, or like those word scrambles. Actually,
yeah,
word
yeah.
searches I'm okay. It's the word scrambles. It's like a joke, on the
Like
PATH train they
the
have those like
Wordle type stuff, or like the
um, I don't know, like if you've read the PATH train, sometimes those is like puzzles, and it's like a mix of letters, and you have to pick the word like that's supposed
yeah,
to
yeah,
spell.
yeah.
I am awful, like horrible, like I can't get them. Like I'm pretty sure my like 2.5-year-old can get them before me. I don't know what it is. I'm very bad at it. So it's kind of the reverse. But my sister always
No, I
makes fun of me
appreciate
because
that.
she's like, how can you not see that this is the word? And I don't know, I can't see it.
Awesome. Well, I have to admit, if it makes you feel any better, like I never do this, but when I sent the invite for this interview, I spelled your name wrong. And I never do
Oh.
that. I didn't put an H on the end, and I knew there was an H on the end. So I don't know. I just noticed it beforehand. I'm like, oh my God. And I wanted to update it, but I knew if I updated it, it would send you the update that said, and you'd be like, what changed? And I'd be like, nothing. So anyway,
All
so
good.
many of
I
us
didn't even notice.
have
So
word troubles. Perfect. Well, now we all know how to spell your name again. But Hannah with an H, 2H. Thank you so much. This has been awesome. Just like love everything with the Happy Box story, and it was an extra bonus with the Hoboken ties as well. But
Yeah,
big
so
fan of
fun.
what you and sister and team are doing. Um,
Thank you.
Where's yeah, of course. Where's the best place for people to, if they want to try out or get gifted or send gifts via Happy Box? Where's the best place for that? And just like if they want to connect with you online anywhere.
Yeah, so happyboxstore.com is our website. So you can go there to check out all of our gift offerings, at Happybox on Instagram as well. You could see some fun behind the scenes content of our warehouse and our team and fulfillment, because that's always just cool to see. And then for me, I mean, you can find me, Hannah Redmond, on LinkedIn, or if you email hello@happyboxstore.com, I do check that inbox too.
Perfect. And then let me know any spelling questions. And then finally, last thing, final thoughts. It could be a quote, words to live by, words to live by. You can sing your favorite Sinatra song. No, whatever you want. Send us home here.
I think because most of your audience are entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs, I think the biggest lesson I've learned in entrepreneurship is that, like, and I know people say this, but you will fail, expect to fail, and just survival is everything. Like we always say, we're like the cockroaches of gifting, because we could have gone out of business many times. I mean, there were weeks and months where we're like, we have like a runway of 3 weeks or 2 weeks, and we're like, I'm going to be out of cash. And you make some hard choices and some hard decisions, but you can survive some of those things. And actually, when your back's against the wall, you'd be surprised how creative you can be. So if anyone listening is going through one of those moments, know that we've been there many times, just like many entrepreneurs. And honestly, some years, truly, survival is success. And I think we remind ourselves that a lot. Survival is success sometimes, and that's okay. It's not necessarily like the Inc. 5000. Sometimes that's success too, but it's okay if sometimes survival is success.
Bring on the bongos.